Hey! If you like these videos and want to support us, please check out our Patreon at patreon.com/numbskulls. By supporting us, you get rewards like viewing episodes a week early, fun behind-the-scenes stuff, and more. If you'd like to learn more, please check out the link in the description. Thank you.
I am endowed with power.
This is my girlfriend. She knows nothing about Warhammer. I know some things about Warhammer. In this series, I'll be summarizing for her stories and lore from the grimdark world of 40k and fantasy.
Magic everywhere.
This episode will be covering Slaanesh, the chaos god of excess and pleasure, and their legion of demons. I'm bound to miss some details or might be completely wrong on some things, so if you'd like to learn more about Slaaneshi demons, I was recommended the Tyrion and Teclis trilogy by William King. Anyways, without further ado, let's get into it. My love, I have spoken with the Warhammer Council. We have had long discussions about the manifestation of the Chaos Gods, which one came first, which one came into consciousness first, and we have found an answer.
When did you have time for this? We talk like every day.
I had...
As soon as you get home from
I
work.
made time. I made time.
You made time when you weren't conscious or working?
Yes. I astral projected myself to speak with the council, and we have an answer of which god manifested first. Are you ready?
Okay.
The answer is
Yeah.
wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
The doctor?
No, just,
Oh.
I believe because so many other people have different interpretations of which god came first, why they manifested first, and also it seems to vary between Warhammer Fantasy and 40k. So let's just go with the idea that all the three original Chaos Gods, Tzeentch, Khorne, and Nurgle, manifested about the same time, and they just argue about who is the oldest, because I think that's really cute.
That's fair enough.
Yeah.
I would think if they kind of came into being along with the feeling or existence or something of these different emotions, I don't know. I wonder if some of these emotions are more human, although I don't know.
Possibly, but hold on to that thought as we talk today about Slaanesh.
Mommy.
Now, Slaanesh is the youngest of the Chaos Gods, as she was the last one to come into consciousness. Slaanesh is known as the Prince of Pleasure, the Lord of Excess, and she who thirsts. They're the god of pleasure, pain, self-indulgence, excess, and perfection.
Damn.
Their pronouns are a/threat.
They're gonna make your pronouns was/were.
Yeah, Slaanesh doesn't care what you call them because they simply exist. They have
so long
any
as you are
/all
screaming
pronouns.
their name.
Yes.
Fair enough.
Like all Chaos Gods, Slaanesh's influence existed long before she formed into a conscious being. She was birthed after a bunch of space elves had the wildest party in history. More on that in another video.
Y'all keep being like, okay, so then this really interesting thing happened. But anyway,
Well,
I want to hear about the orgies.
That's a very complicated event that
So are most
deserves its
orgies,
own
I'm
video.
sure, but
You know what? You've got a point.
but I'll concede. Let's continue.
Do you like rock and roll?
I do. I have British heritage, so.
Do you like partying?
What did I just say?
Do you like doing wahoo in the bedroom?
Sex?
Yes.
Oh. Yeah. I feel like we knew that Slaanesh and I were gonna jive. You know, like I'm pretty chill with religion
You pointed at a picture
general.
of Slaanesh and said, that's literally me on several occasions.
It was the only one with titties. Like, what do you want?
That's fair. That's fair. So you like all those things? Great. Slaanesh approves. Do you like torture?
Oh.
Inflicting pain on yourself and others? Indulging in all things? Slaanesh really likes that and thinks you should do more. Much more.
So she's into like BDSM kink community.
Oh, yeah. Oh, very much so.
Your voice there literally was like that, duh, like the foghorn sound effect.
Don't compare me to a foghorn.
I'm just saying. It's not you. It's just the tones of your voice.
While the bad parts of Slaanesh are things like pain and torture and suffering,
Right.
she also embodies things like joy, happiness, and freedom of expression.
This is more up my alley. It looks like she's got a margarita there. See, this is my girl, you know? She's also protecting herself from the sun.
Just
We've
like
talked
me
about
for
this.
real.
UV ages you faster than anything else, my guy. So she's got this together. We're on the same wavelength. And I'm into it.
Now, the thing is, joy, happiness, freedom of expression, these things wouldn't exist if Slaanesh didn't exist.
Oh, okay.
But also torture and pain and suffering, that also would not exist.
Well, I mean, that's the whole dynamic. You gotta have a Naruto and a Sasuke. You can't just...
Yeah, the Chaos Gods are the embodiment of these emotions. If they're gone, the emotions that make them are gone as well.
Yeah, right. So, like, if corn was gone, nothing would be violent.
Pretty much all violent urges would cease to be, but also things like honesty and glory and things like that would also cease to be.
Right. Interesting. Gryffindors everywhere. Just... it's like what in Endgame, everybody, Thanos, snap,
yeah.
Everybody, but it's only a quarter, so it's just the Gryffindors. Everybody's like, finally, we can get some goddamn peace around here.
Finally, those corn guys are gone. We're and then everybody just starts lying to each other. It's like, maybe this was a bad idea.
Now we have to, be the first person to run into battle. This isn't as good.
Although
I guess there's no battle anymore.
Guys.
But then I guess you don't
no battle.
Starve. Because, unless you're, fully vegetarian. But, who does that? I guess it's, based on definition, how far down do these definitions go? At what point does something exist because of one of these gods or not? And I suppose kind of the issue with that is the issue with the entire explanation of these, I'll say, beings. Because they are so old and so intertwined, there's so much nuance into what they are and what they've done that it's almost impossible to actually, pin down a specific term.
Yeah, and it's also impossible to really theorize what would happen if one of them ceased to exist, because it would probably be catastrophic to the universe at large.
Well, it's like thinking of a new color.
Yeah.
You just can't.
It's literally impossible.
Right. Even though we know in our universe that we see a very small spectrum of what there actually is. So it's you can't possibly know of something and actually kind of you can't conceptualize something really unless you already have the concepts that kind of allow that concept to exist. So I mean, of course, there are super geniuses who are just here's what a black hole looks like based on math. And you're like, what?
That's cool.
Yeah, we need to watch Interstellar. It would be interesting if there was if you could, in one of the games or something, you could actually kill one of the gods or something and see how the world would change. It could be an interesting D&D kind of premise. One of the gods is killed.
That kind of happened with the Necrons, where they killed one of the star gods, and basically caused the flare virus. Which, that's the Necrons that wear people's skin and try to eat things.
Oh, like the Maze
even
Runner.
Though they can't really eat. Slaanesh is often depicted as an androgynous figure with long flowing hair, horns, and a serpent body.
Sephiroth.
Sometimes it's depicted as a creature that's too horrible to describe. Sometimes
also
it's a gluttonous
Sephiroth.
figure. It really depends on interpretation. It's sort of like a primal in 14.
Yeah,
One person will summon Ifrit and it'll look like, what he looks like in game, but somebody could summon Ifrit and it would look like maybe more demonic,
Sometimes I summon him and he looks like a cute little minion.
Oh yeah, he could be like a cute little minion.
Yeah, he follows me around. It's like a balloon. It looks like somebody tied an Ifrit balloon to my ankle and I'm just running around. It's on fire. I'm like, it's gonna hit the helium any minute.
The followers of Slaanesh start in the subtlest of ways, often starting with someone who has a overwhelming desire or an unquenchable thirst. Acting on these emotions feeds directly into Slaanesh's power. Eventually, these sensations aren't enough, so they push towards more things like torture and untold suffering, and so on and so forth.
He looks like he's singing. This is definite. We're back to the German opera. He's like, oh!
The Imperium of Man has stated before that Slaanesh might be the most dangerous chaos god to the average person, and so they need to keep a very close eye on its citizens to make sure that those weekend parties are staying within code. Those parties can't get too crazy, because then Slaanesh might just, show up.
Oh.
Hey guys, what's going on? It's me, Slaanesh.
That's like Santa showing up at the
yummy,
Christmas party, and it's who hired this guy? And then, you look at the person who, hires people, and they're like, I don't know who this is, guys.
It's not good.
The Holiday Armadillo!
Slaanesh's relationship with the other Chaos God varies a bit.
Oh.
She's pretty okay with Tzeentch because he's all about change, and what better thing to change into than a more perfect being? I mentioned last time that Slaanesh and Khorne don't get along at all, and that they disagree on basically everything.
Right.
A good example of that is where Khorne will go out into a battlefield and murder everybody in sight as quickly as possible. Slaanesh is gonna take her time, savor the fear, the pain that's inflicted, often taking prisoners and torturing them endlessly until they get bored or want to change their bodies into something that they deem more perfect.
Right. It's not about the result. It's about the happening.
It's about the pain. It's about the suffering. It's not about the killing.
Yeah.
So now that we have a base for Slaanesh, let's move on to some of the demons. Slaaneshi demons.
Oh, crab.
So these are demonettes. These are the lesser demons of Slaanesh.
Right.
They are very fast. Very, very fast.
Oh, they're like...
And,
they're like,
yeah, they
they're like that mount
sprint.
that you can get right now in the Moogle event.
Which one?
The one where you guys always pop.
crab?
Yeah. You guys always... You're always on it at the fucking in the house. All you guys, I'm always standing there. I'm just like a weirdo without my thing. And then you guys are like, and I'm like, I can't do it because I don't have the crab and I don't know how to get now I can do it. And we can all be standing around the house going and scare
We
newcomers.
gotta get you that crab, babe.
Well, it's
gotta
in
get
the
you
Moogle
crab.
event. I have so many tombstones. That's what we're doing after this. Anyway.
Demonettes are always smiling when they're out on the battlefield, constantly looking forward to the pain that they'll inflict on their enemies. Typically, they ride on these creatures known as the steeds of Slaanesh. They're like if a velociraptor and an anteater got freaky, which
I
is
love them.
very on brand with Slaanesh.
I love them. They are velococampi. Hippocampi,
yeah. They use their tongues
veloso.
like whips.
Yeah, they're like Kida.
It's not so fun when you're on the receiving end of it, though. Yeah, they're like Kida, kinda.
my
Oh,
baby
Kida's a
kids.
good.
Kida just turned 2.
She just turned 2.
Yeah.
Oh, happy hatch day. Everybody say happy hatch day
Happy
to
hatch
Kida.
day, Kida. Blah,
Blah, la, la.
She says blah, blah, blah.
The last of our lesser demons of Slaanesh are kind of like if the steeds of Slaanesh and the demonettes kind of fused into one being. They are called the fiends of Slaanesh.
Oh.
They look real weird.
I like the little tail leg.
They've got like 2 sets of legs, one of which is facing the correct direction and one that's facing backwards. It's really weird.
Oh, so they can get anywhere real fast.
Oh yeah, they go.
They
like
go-
they're
they're
like zipping and zagging. In Total War, they actually like move throughout the enemies. It looks like liquid almost. It's crazy.
Oh, cool.
Their tails are really dangerous. Their tongues are really dangerous, like the steeds of Slaanesh. They've got the little grippers,
The little
as in like their claws, not their feet.
They're not like chameleons where they do the cute little like boop, 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 boop. When they, because
Blah,
they
blah,
could,
blah, blah, blah.
no, the chameleon feet, they like grip you. They got like 2
Oh,
fingies.
they do. Oh, you're right.
They look
they
like
do a
little
little grippy
leaf
grip.
feet, and they grab you. They're like, they're very cute. I
Don't
like
cough too
chameleons.
loud or I'll explode.
No, they'll die if you look at them wrong. They're not.
If you look at them wrong, they'll just perish.
I love chameleons, but I'm just not. I'm not down for that
I'm
kind of
I'm
flight
not
risk.
down with
You know,
that.
life wise. That's why I have keys.
Now, the most interesting demonette that I found was known as the Mask of Slaanesh.
Ooh.
She was once the chief handmaiden and favored dancer of the Chaos God. Whenever Slaanesh was upset, this demonette would always manage to cheer them up with a little dance.
Oh, it's like one of those jewelry boxes that's like a good thing, and then suddenly it's in a horror movie, and I had one of those. I was too scared to use it.
One day, Tzeentch, being Tzeentch, tricked Slaanesh into fighting against both Khorne and Nurgle at the same time. You know, as a little prank. Just a little prank,
Hey
little,
guys,
like
what's
messing
up?
around.
On today's video, I'm gonna convince this guy to fuck up his life.
Could you imagine if Tzeentch had a vlog channel?
What if all 4 of them had a vlog channel? Like the entire thing was each of them are trying to wait, this should be the TV show.
The great game is who can get more subscribers.
It's like Big Fucking Brother. And, like, you know, rather than, like, getting voted out, like, the countries get, like, exploded from the heavens or some shit. Like, oh my.
no, they're getting influenced by their. Oh no.
I would watch a 4-way game of Battleship between these 4.
It would be really interesting to watch to see each of them use their own abilities.
Which one would stack all the ships on top of each other?
Oh, that would be Tzeentch. Tzeentch would do that.
I feel like Slaanesh wouldn't even put the ships out. She'd just be sitting there giggling.
That's the greatest form of torture, seeing you try to guess where her battleships are.
Every time it's sploosh.
So, Tzeentch tricked Slaanesh into fighting both Khorne and Nurgle at the same time. Unsurprisingly, she lost.
Right.
She was really upset by this, and so, like always, this little demonette, the Mask of Slaanesh, tried to cheer her up. Slaanesh was in the worst mood imaginable at this point and saw this as mockery. And to punish such an insult, Slaanesh cursed the demonette to dance forever.
I'm gonna blow your mind. This is basically the plot of the Barbie movie.
No, that cannot be. That can't be.
It's not. You could make a comparison. I see it. America Ferrera is Slaanesh, confirmed.
Hasbro, I got the best idea that you've never heard.
Get Will Ferrell
What
in
if
immediately.
Barbie movie, but Slaanesh? Hear me out.
Also Elf 2, just cuz.
Elf 2. We gots to have Elf 2. That's the chaser after you go and see the Slaanesh movie. Nowadays, the Mask of Slaanesh can be seen on battlefields, dancing and causing those around her to uncontrollably dance as well, until they are struck down by her graceful movements.
Oh, it's like Midsommar.
It's kind of like Midsommar, but she's just cursed to dance for all eternity.
She doesn't get to, like, make any party choices.
No, she just dances. Let's move on to the greater demons of Slaanesh, known as the Keepers of Secrets.
Oh.
So this was the other model I was considering buying for Alex instead of Bellicor, because I know he likes the Slaanesh stuff. They feed on the erratic hope and the intense fear of those that they face, holding the secret desires of mortals that they come across.
I heard erratic hope and thought you said cope. That's what happened.
Oh.
That's what happened.
They cope. Keepers of Secrets vary in appearance wildly, which is often influenced by what emotion Slaanesh was feeling at the moment of their creation. Much like a bloodthirster in Khorne's army, when a Keeper of Secrets arrives, give up. It's over. Not only are they going to be faster than you, they have an area of effect that seduces you, so you probably won't be able to do much other than perish.
What if you're asexual?
Well, they're described as being both too horrible and too beautiful to look away, and it causes people to stare in awe of the thing coming to cut them in half.
So it's not necessarily a sexual urge, it's just kind of an attraction, like...
Yes.
Okay, I understand.
You can't help but look at it.
Yeah.
The greatest Keeper of Secrets is a demon known as Nakari.
Oh.
Known as the Chosen of Slaanesh, the Arch Tempter, and the Lord of 1,000 Songs. Nakari isn't super evolved in 40k other than showing up for a few battles here and there, so we're going to shift over to Warhammer Fantasy for a little bit, as this is where he is most prevalent.
Okay.
Specifically, he is the main antagonist of the High Elves of Ulthuan.
Well, Ulthuan? Whoa. How? Okay, wait. Whoa. Where did his horns go? Go back.
His horns?
Like he's in this helmet, right? Is that him?
No, this is an elf.
Oh, okay. I was like, where? How? It's like the freaking Vieira ears. You can't wear headgear.
Dude, he digivolved into an angel.
I was gonna, like, voice act, be like, Ulthuan, digivolve too.
The High Elves of Ulthuan lived on a peaceful island that was mostly isolated from the outside world. It was a paradise that knew no war and no strife. Nakari, seeing a society of elves that had no tools for war, was intrigued. Imagine being in Rivendell, right?
Yeah, this has given me
everything's fine, everything's peaceful, you're chilling with your buddies, and then suddenly
No, wait, can I just stay there? Because that's where I want to be, you know? Don't make me leave. Let's just stay. End the video. Let's just...
But...
Guys, support the Patreon so one day we can have peace. I'm really tired.
So imagine you're chilling in Rivendell with your pals.
Yeah, we're all tired.
And suddenly this Gashimuchi demon arrives on your doorstep specifically to slaughter you. That's what happened to Ulthuan.
Okay. It's at least cool, right?
So the elves had no chance against the hordes of demons that Nakari brought,
Oh.
and a lot of people died, and if they didn't, they probably lived through horrible suffering and torture before they eventually did perish. It was a bad time for the High Elves. Let's just put it that way.
This isn't gonna help.
This was such a horrible time for the High Elves that this would eventually go down in history as the Rape of Ulthuan.
Oh.
Eventually, the High Elves did prevail when the first Phoenix King, Anarion, blessed by the elven gods, managed to defeat Nakari. Before he could be killed, he tried to travel back to the realms of chaos and found that he was trapped within a magical vortex. Nakari cried out, swearing to take revenge on Anarion and his entire bloodline.
Damn, that's a commitment. I gotta say, I was staring at this picture while you were saying that, and I thought he was a Kleenex.
You thought King Anarion was a Kleenex?
Wielding like a stick. And I was like, where's the guy he's talking about, though? It's just a Kleenex here.
Honestly, there is so much about Nakari that I think it might be better to talk about it when we cover the fantasy elves in another video, because as I mentioned before, he is the main antagonist, so I think it would be more interesting to have him reserved for that kind of stuff.
Right.
We'll get back to Nakari when we revisit the High Elves of Ulthuan.
Okay, I won't remember the word Oathwan by then. I'm just gonna let
That's
you know.
fine. And that's Slaaneshi Demons.
Yeah.
How we feeling?
It's rocking. It's rad.
Mhm.
I'm not so into the idea of people, actually being hurt or hurting themselves or others.
Right.
But without, on the other end of things, she seems great.
Other than all the bad stuff, I think she's
Seems
awesome.
like a
She's
California
radical.
local, she's just minding her own business. She's got some problematic opinions, but generally she kind of she makes moral decisions that seem reasonable.
What would you say is your favorite thing about Slaanesh?
I mean, I like that she doesn't like the war guy.
You like that she doesn't like corn?
Which, I thought maybe that's controversial because he's your favorite. But what I mean by that is that war is bad.
Right.
And so it seems that, obviously with some exceptions, my moral compass aligns closer to Slaanesh's than the other ones, to the extent that I understand them so far.
It'll be interesting going through the other Chaos Gods and seeing if that changes at all.
Yes, I'm also not entirely sure that I answered your question.
What is your favorite aspect of Slaanesh? What is the thing that draws you towards them?
I mean, initially, I think it's just the overarching, feminine presence in the aesthetic.
Yeah,
obviously.
I completely agree.
Yeah, because, you see it throughout the series. So, you obviously see examples of women in other places in Warhammer, like the Sisters of Battle or, the cool, fey, wispy, ghosty, alien-looking things that I'm always, staring at whenever I'm actually, at the physical locations.
Right.
But, the fact that, that an entire chunk is, largely associated with and, figureheaded by woman, or
Right.
at least feminine association, I think it stands out the most to me, and maybe that is just because it's different. That said, I also have, I'm usually drawn to, Slaanesh is often very sexualized, and,
Yes.
and kind of paints that representation of sexuality as quite a sexual thing with a bondage kind of sexy push-up bra aesthetic, which it's going to be up to everybody to have their opinions on this. I don't see anything wrong with it in this particular case. I know that there have been particular models and stuff that I wouldn't agree is great for representing women.
A lot of those models, though, have been discontinued
Yes.
and have been out of production for quite some time, though. To Games Workshop's credit,
Yes,
which is
absolutely. And that's, it's just, it goes back to kind of what we were talking about earlier, I guess, where we were saying that one of the things that makes it a great story, I think, overall, and I think you'd probably agree, that a lot of good stories are one of the things that makes them so good is the foundation is so solid, the foundation is so built out that you can't peg a character or a concept down to a word. You can't define corn because the definition of corn is corn. You know, it would
Yeah.
be like trying to describe your best friend in one word. Like, sure, you might come up with something like, hopefully it's not chaos, but who's to say at what point something is harmful or non-harmful or good or bad or whatever. Like, obviously it's quite a classically attractive based feminine aesthetic. And like, I tend to like those kinds of aesthetics. Like, those are the kinds of characters I always like to play in video games. That's how I always used to like draw when I was a kid. Or I always liked like watching the Victoria's Secret fashion show though as well. So it's kind of like, but then it's like, well, is that the empowerment of my femininity, or is that the fact that I'm bisexual? And so, who am I to say, really? I think the answer really, truly would be that for some women that is, it's fine, and for some women it's not. And how it affects them or their enjoyment of the property, it's going to be different person to person.
And in your opinion, you find something like Slaanesh to be somewhat empowering.
Yeah, for me, I look at Slaanesh and I'm like, yeah, bitch, let's do it. Like,
Right.
Right. Like, and I don't know, maybe some of this comes from the fact that, like, I am a, like, stereotypically not terrible looking woman, that I maybe have an ability to relate to that, and thus, because it's a powerful thing, because it's got this kind of, a fourth of the universe in its hands, I see the association to myself and I grin, so to speak, you know? Which maybe
you
that's
would be
not a
tempted
good
by
thing.
Slaanesh.
Oh, absolutely. I don't, and I don't think that is again, who's to say at what point that is good or bad? But yeah, I think for me, at least, like, putting them down on a board and like give an example of 5 words each, the one that kind of piques my interest the most is going to be Slaanesh.
That makes sense. I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
But that's also coming from a perspective where I can't relate to what you have talked about.
Yeah, but if one of the gods was like a nerdy twink,
I would probably gravitate towards that one, yeah. Do you have any questions about Slaanesh or their demons?
I guess this must be one of the like most common ones to be influenced by, because it seems like, it really comes from a place of like base natures, in the sense of like, I don't like run into the feeling of, man, I'd really like to like get some skulls or blood or like start a war every day.
Right. It's a lot easier to be tempted by things like joy and excess than it is like anger and murder.
Really, it's like, these things are already at your fingertips. Like, you have to eat every day, but why not eat more than you need? Like, the human race has to have sex to procreate, but why not, get a little kinky with it?
Yeah.
And at what point, where is the line? The answer is, it's different for everyone.
But you know what you should do?
What should I do?
You should take that whip and you should really torture that guy. That's what you should do. Don't you want to hear his screams?
You're my partner. What are you saying? Are you asking for something? I think we should keep this private. Awkward.
Anything else?
Will getting into Warhammer make me happy?
A special thank you to our top patrons: Ton of Ashman, Andrew Welsh, Armored Note, Christian Hardcastle, Julio Brinceno, Max Henderson 273, Mike's Forging, Nathan Bond, Nura Bandanika, Sean Martin, Animation Creation, Draconic Hermit, Fago 1234, Georgi, Jacob Smith, John Smith, Nick Stilson, Najila Yakubu, Pablo Hernandez, Rachel Curry, Samuel Miller, the last survivor of the 423rd Royal Battle Mech Division, and Zogo Bainavalot. Thank you so much for your support. Next video will be more 40k focused, talking about one of the oldest factions in the setting. This Slaanesh video may or may not have been foreshadowing. Who knows? Anyways, see you next time. Have a great week, everybody.